cappuccino to go for 5 francs. It's Switzerland, my goodness. Well, this video will demonstrate the very Switzerland pictured all around in the internet. I'll show you the nature of this incredible country through the prism of my emotions, impressions, and the most chaotic but interesting route. Let's find out whether every local cow may really star in alpine chocolate commercials and what color this famous green grass is in real life. We'll see rugged mountain peaks, snow avalanches, and stunning landscapes. In the end, we'll try to understand if Switzerland is really the perfect country. On this beautiful and totally non-scientific expedition, I have a camera with tripod and of course the unchanging b-boy. So let's fly to explore the local beauty. Let's start with Montruex, a small town with beautiful mountain views at the furthermost point of Lake Geneva is the place where I was going. Surprisingly, I thought Montruex was a small, quiet, peaceful little town, but it turned out to be quite noisy and quite big by Swiss standards. Yeah, so much for the tiny sleepy town. It doesn't look like that at all from up high, although after the first walk I had to go along with the initial description. Despite the unusual abundance of high-rise buildings, and in some places they are really huge, almost no one walks along its tangled streets. The car traffic is low, mainly concentrated on the bridge, which is far away from the embankment and residential neighborhoods. Therefore, the views are breathtaking. The lake as smooth as glass, which is occasionally disturbed by floating boats, distant mountains hiding in the clouds, and quite reachable peaks covered with countless trees. It's quite interesting to observe all of this splendor from above. I especially reached here on my own 2 feet. Oh, that's me! And that's me, and that's me as well. But no better than from the waterfront itself, which I'm looking forward to show you. Its main figure is the monument to the immortal Freddie Mercury, erected here shortly after the artist's death. The downside is that it's surrounded by countless people at any time of the day, so there is no point in staying here for long. After walking only a few hundred meters, you can instantly find yourself in the very silence that you expect from this place. This Lake Geneva, where swans, ducklings, and huge fairies constantly float around. I couldn't get enough of it, even after spending a whole week on its shores. And while the camera was time-lapsing, I sat on the bankside for 40 minutes, enjoying this beauty. You can admire these snow-capped mountains tirelessly. Of course, the camera can hardly capture the atmosphere, but I did my best for you to get immersed. Relaxing on the super comfortable sunbeds, watching it all in person, it's a dream come true. Take it from me. Only those paragliders floating through the clouds among the Alps themselves are doing better. Such views are surely memorable. And the longer I thought about it, the more I wanted to find myself high up among the mountains and test this theory. It's very beautiful here. The sun is so hot that my face is burning. And now I'm going to take the cable car and ride to the mountains. What happened next? We're about to find out. I'm not actually meaning the cable car, but the wreck railroad used by the special high mountain trains. Like this little guy with a trailer full of passenger stuff. As a rule, such railroads have 3 rails, 2 ordinary ones and the third, toothed one located right in the middle. The train or locomotive running on them is equipped with a special toothed wheel to move up steep rises, which is accompanied by unreal noise and rumbling. A separate task was to find the right station. So in my search, I walked upwards, being navigated by not too clear signs. Anyway, the ancient streets with neat little houses, old signs and lanterns were worth all the effort. All those inclined roofs, colored shutters, neat paving stones. I love the French part of Switzerland. I love it. But I walked part of the way on foot not only because of the gorgeous views, but also because of the money. If the prices for regular trains in Switzerland are incredibly high, then for wreck trains, they are just stratospheric. Just like the mountains where this roaring behemoth goes. It cost 37 francs one way. 37 francs! What's the big deal about these rocks of yours? That you'd pay 75 francs for this ride? Anyway, I did not feel like emptying my pockets for a couple-hour travel in the cloud-covered mountains. So I took a ticket to the intermediate station, deciding to get off about halfway. After waiting for the train for a good half an hour, I finally heard it approaching. Such sounds were unmistakable. The doors opened, and I was greeted by a couple of ticket collectors. Hello.
Hello.
I was happy that I took the appropriate ticket. The view is awesome.
Down this mountain.
Wow.
Behind.
And begged the driver for staying in the cab to take some pictures of how it all worked.
Next stop on quest video on the result.
And he suddenly offered to stay in during the whole ride. The views from here are magnificent. Especially if you're stuck out of the open window.
can open the window if you want it. Look,
Wow!
left us.
Thank you! Rumbling to speed up after another stop, we moved upward, higher and higher. We drove past someone's windows, past ancient but very lamp-like carriages, entered many tunnels, and just admired the endless meadows and houses scattered among these evergreen hills. Unfortunately, such a gorgeous 15 minutes ride came to an end, and I had to get off, thanking the super classy driver. You made a lot of for my travel video.
No problem.
See you. Thank you. Bye. But as soon as I looked down at the panorama, all my regrets flew out of my head. It's 1,000 meters above sea level. To be honest, I could hardly put ideas in order and say something sensible. Я приехала в горы. В первый раз. Здесь холодно. Но очень красиво и здорово. Сами посмотрите. It's so beautiful. It's like a picture from a movie. Like these rugged snowy peaks hiding in the clouds. If not only for wires in the frame, it would be great. But I had a great solution for this problem. To let B-Boy out of the bag at last. Indeed, these views made me feel a kind of regret not driving all the way to the end. The black fir trees looked cool against the green meadows and white snow. And the view of the lake from this height is amazing. The cars on the bridge are something between ants and microbes from here. And what the hell is that? What kind of monster-sized castle is this? And it's so beautiful. The first Google search showed that it was a hotel, of course. The so-called Cow Mountains were exclusively a pastureland for local shepherds. However, in the mid-19th century, tourism slowly began to thrive here, and sometime after the opening of the first hotel in Montruex, the owner of this beautiful chateau decided to host guests exploring the mountains. However, I could not find any relevant information about the rooms and the prices. In short, the hotel is suspicious, though beautiful beyond belief. It must be an unparalleled pleasure to watch the sunset here, on one of its balconies. And yet, I look at it and think, why anyone would ever need such a huge castle? Это надо снимать с пчелом. Going by the number of windows, there are at least 100 rooms. You can't do the round of the castle in a whole day. Просто нет слов. Wow. While Cow Castle is apparently empty, the parking lot of the second local hotel is completely full of cars. And I think its terraces offer even more impressive view, many thanks to the same castle against the clear sky. Evening was falling, and I had to say goodbye to Montreux and board a train to Lausanne. I hope you've already seen the Swiss cities video. Suddenly, after a few stops later, I saw such stunning views. that I simply fell out of the carriage, deciding to watch the sunset here. The station was called Vevey. This tiny town was a true jewel in the crown. No noise and practically no tourists at all. It's a cozy place with a tiny old downtown. A couple of castles. Well, it's a must. We're in Switzerland. A quiet little promenade. And the fork in, the sea. Honestly, this is the strangest installation I've ever seen on my entire trip. I mean, seriously, who would even think of sticking a fork in here? Nevertheless, every person passing by was smiling. It's wonderful, isn't it? And how about this miracle device that looks like a decorative supercharged weather vane? Spinners, balls and mazes. Funny. In the meantime, the sun was going down, and I sat up on the waterfront to watch the swans swimming around and the snow-capped Alps slowly turning orange and pink. A perfect place to relax after an eventful day, to digest the impressions, and just enjoy the wonderful view of the mountains in peace and quiet. Well, or to go into music overdrive with headphones on while no one sees. My camera was almost dead, and the last thing I captured was the sun, which literally fell into the sea in a matter of minutes. It was a good one. Just an amazing day. In Switzerland, though, absolutely every day is one of those days. For example, the next rather secluded place I decided to go was Thun, a small town on the shores of Lake Thun. It takes about 20 minutes to get there from Bern and 20 francs for a one-way train. So, thinking about the inhumanity of local transportation prices, I stomped to the station, while 3 balloons were floating right above the center of Bern. Cool, cool, cool. Thun is a very pretty town, but I didn't come here for its cozy streets and castles. I wanted to feel the Swiss nature once again. The lake, greenery, birds. The mountains clustering around. They are everywhere, wherever you look. In addition, Thun is a starting point for countless trails for hiking, long walks, or long bike rides. You can rent a bike ride at the train station, unless of course you arrive as I did on Sunday, when the rental shop is closed. Anyway, after coming to the waterfront, I started my one-day mini vacation. It's so beautiful here. The crystal water, swans floating by peacefully, seagulls chasing each other, in silence and almost complete solitude. The idyll was disturbed only by buzzing airplanes, probably lifting paragliders to the mountains. Otherwise, I thought about peaceful, quiet, laid-back lifestyle of locals. On weekends, people play saucer with their children, relax contemplating these fantastical panoramas, decorate trees and flower beds in honor of Easter, mow lawns, walk along green meadows and hills, ride bikes, go yachting and rowing, embracing life. Does it really happen like that? However, the local fauna captured my attention quickly and completely. I saw a private bird venue of falcons and gulls. They were squawking quite loudly and cruised animatedly around a small patch of land, flapping their wings proudly. B-boy shook nervously somewhere in my backpack. Anyway, it took me a few minutes to find out what this was all about. A whole field has been dug up recently, and a lot of mice came out, which these birds were hunting for. Hopefully, a plastic drone full of electronics won't be to their liking. I learned it from a nice woman taking her cows for grazing. I didn't want to wave the camera in her face, so enjoy the cows. And the kitties. It's scared.
I've never seen a camera.
Turns out she and her husband live here and work on a farm. They keep these cows right behind an electric fence. So it's dangerous to touch it.
Yeah, I won't do that.
I'll know.
You will get a shock.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
We talked for quite a while, and she even told me about the local cats. It's Muffin?
It's Muffin.
And also about the cows, feeling absolutely no fear of passing trains. Doing good acrobatic tricks.
It's amazing that they can do that. They are so heavy.
And giving apparently quite a lot of milk. So, do you make like cheese or something?
No, we don't make cheese. Our milk is just for
cats.
To drink and
Yeah.
for butter, the cream on the milk.
Oh, you're making butter.
No, we don't make it ourselves. It all goes to a big a company that uses all our milk.
So you like sell it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
One thing's for sure. These animals definitely stroke lucky. Chewing grass and admiring such views, that must be the dream of every cow on the planet. After leaving the ranch, I headed onward, deciding to snap a few pictures of trains passing by. But unlike the cows, I'm obviously afraid of them. After having a snack and a chat with passing Germans,
McDonald's we had a hook. It's Spanish. English. Oh, English. Can we speak here? Yeah, sure.
Har jättefort och honom på ett
Ah, you have a...
no problem,
No?
Thanks.
and enjoying the panoramas, I decided to try out one of the hiking routes and set off on a journey full of mystery, uncertainty, and donkeys. Donkeys and pigs, to be more precise. Not to mention cows and sheep, with bells ringing for miles around. And here's a kitty of Swiss appearance. Even a cat has a Swiss passport. Put it shortly, after a 10-kilometer walk and total immersion in the Swiss countryside, I had the energy only to board the train and move on. After waiting out a few disgustingly rainy days in Lucerne, I was going to head to Interlaken, one of the most beautiful and popular places in Switzerland.
Скоро буду там.
Yeah, from Thun I didn't get there, but something went wrong at the moment.
Просматривая карту Швейцарии, я вдруг натыкаюсь на название Гриндевальд. И мимо такого я не могла проехать, что бы тут ни было. А оказалось, что это едва ли не самая крутая точка на всем моем маршруте.
So I set off. The road there too was mind-bogglingly beautiful, and for a good half of the journey I desperately fought to the urge to jump off the train in the middle of beautiful nowhere. After the train ride, a yellow bus number 312 was looking forward to taking me high up into the mountains. These are the kinds of views I admired along the way. And as soon as I got out upon arrival,
Тут невероятно красиво.
the rugged mountains appeared before me in all their glory, hiding behind the clouds every now and then. Grindelwald is a very small, high mountain village, 1,000 meters above sea level. It's called the village of glaciers. Most of the year, it offers the view of the peaks completely covered with snow and ice. Grindelwald is one of the best ski resorts in the world, but I was not interested in skiing and snowboarding at all. Luckily, the place offers many activities for everyone, both in winter and summer.
Плохое место Гриндевальдом не назовут, знаете ли.
My hotel was on the outskirts, so leaving most of my things in the room, I went to enjoy the frosty air. The green hills and the thick clouds sometimes even giving way to blue skies. Elevators, lonely trains, wooden houses, real high-altitude chalets. Well, apparently that's what some Swiss people's country houses look like. And the view of green meadows covered with a dense blanket of snow is a stark beauty. I was heading to the conventional center of the village, with the only, and therefore the main, street, where buses ran at once-an-hour intervals. I met a driver girl and got into conversation with her. She ended up showing me a couple of cool hiking trails in the vicinity of the village, and dropped me off at the beginning of one of them. When I asked if it was expensive to her to live in Switzerland, I heard a calm and confident no. So I went for a walk, stumbling across the ancient local church on the way, which was one of the postcard views of Grindelwald. Despite the date of its construction, 12th century, the church has self-opening front doors. In general, restoration and innovation are not mere words for the Swiss. You can sit here for hours looking at the mountains. That is what I was doing until I noticed a strange stir near the peaks. Then again and again and again. It appeared to be snow avalanches coming down and covering everything on their way. Although from below they don't seem really large and scary. But if you scale them to where trees grow in there, you will feel a bit uncomfortable. At the same time, paragliders appeared in the sky out of the thick clouds here and there. And afterward, the weather began to change. And by the end of the day, the sun slowly burst through and transformed the verdant valley even more. It was most enjoyable to walk through the neat twisting streets, and I hiked all day once again. I was looking forward to the break of a new day fully mapped out in my head.
Welcome to the First Farm, Top of Adventure. Great having you on board. The journey to First takes 25 minutes. Enjoy your journey.
Mount First is one of many alpine peaks, far from being the highest or even the most unremarkable. But this is where one of the several cable cars in Grindelwald is built. For some 70 francs, you can buy a round-trip ticket and enjoy a 25-minute ride looking through the windows of a beautiful semi-transparent cabin. That's exactly what I'm doing at the moment. The cabin took me along green fields and distant houses with their own trimmed yards. In the blink of an eye, I saw the polar opposite view. A snow blanket trampled by various animals with the only cleared road, and the white peaks of the mountains glistening in the sun and looming up. We made 2 stops on the way, where the doors of the cabins automatically opened for someone to get off. But I didn't. I looked at the lifting mechanism with interest. There is a more interesting alternative for going down. One can rent a bike at the top and go down along the twisting paths with full immersion in the local nature. You can give it back at the foot, where it will be loaded into a cabin and brought upwards for new adventures. In the meantime, my ascent came to an end, and going outside felt like teleportation from summer straight into winter. My God, indescribable emotions. It was the first time I was so high up in the mountains. And not some random mountains, but the snowy Grindelwald itself. I've been thinking and dreaming about it for so long during the whole trip, and now I'm finally here. First, 2,000 meters above sea level. The scorching sun makes you take off or at least unbutton your jacket. The pure white snow squeaking under your feet makes you put on dark glasses as soon as possible. The sun is overly active here, and within a few hours my face was burned. Which resulted in a week lost in redness.
Собственно, дошла до Швейцарии.
That's a detail anyway. The main thing is that you can stay here for practically the whole day, from dawn to sunset. There is more than dazzling, in every sense of the word, scenery. Tissot, the largest Swiss watch manufacturer, has built the first cliff walk, a protected walkway along the cliffs right above the kilometer abyss. The whole mini route is a great scenic viewpoint, where you can get a closer look at the cliffs and even see wildlife far below.
Кто это там? Сейчас в очках вообще не видно. Дома посмотрю.
I'm not sure about that couple, but they look quite reminiscent of deer to me. Fortunately, I arrived here at the very opening time and could walk around more or less freely, without being pushed around by crowds of Chinese and Korean tourists. The most memorable piece here is the 100-meter bridge spanning the chasm between two cliffs. Some people who were afraid of heights, which was perfectly noticeable, held on to the railing with both hands and moved at speed of 10 steps per minute. But I was not that kind of people. I was among the vast majority who wanted to take more pictures. At the end of the walk, anyone can go to the topmost glass-bottomed observation deck. But there was a small issue, and here comes the cue.
10 minutes later.
I waited my 10 minutes in good faith and asked the two French girls behind me to take a video of me.
Okay, ici?
No, it's good, it's recorded, a video.
You can see by my satisfied face how awesome this place is.
Thank you.
Aside from waiting in line for the observation deck, you can have fun here, sitting in a restaurant with a first-class view, taking a zipline ride to the previous stop of the cable car, or plummeting headfirst from a pretty good height, like a huge eagle. That sounds awesome. But to enjoy one of these entertainments, you must wait in line for 1 hour. I'd rather not. Personally, I can fly here without such fancy stuff, having arranged everything with B-Boy. And the best thing is that you can see all this beauty with own eyes and get a feel for it. The fact is that this place is equipped for paragliding, which means that you can fly on a paraglider with an instructor or alone, if you have the equipment and knowledge of how it works. The next 2 hours I looked at the colored wings of paragliders soaring over the mountains through the clouds. Wow! Wow! Wow, that's so cool. I even got to know one of the guys, as he came back to the starting point several times to fly again. The guy's name was Timo, and he told me that out there, well, here, somewhere, the air currents go upward, and you can soar heavenward with renewed vigor. After such gliding, if you have proper skills. It's easy to land on the starting point and fly again until you get bored. In short, great savings on the cable car. Timo bought only one ticket to the top, and he can go down independently. After making a little video called Me and the Mountains, Timo said goodbye and ran downhill once again.
Goodbye.
In the meantime, clouds were coming out from behind the mountains, and the bright, warm and walkable weather were changing to grey, windy and frosty. With no sunlight up here, it instantly got colder, and I experienced the effect of the 5 degrees Celsius. In general, having dropped a couple of 20-cent coins in the souvenir machine, I got on the air streetcar and slowly ride down, trying to process all my impressions. The processing failed though. I felt completely washed out. The emotions made me so tired that I simply plopped down in a chair on the hotel terrace and spent an hour silently looking at the mountains, drinking free hotel coffee. In the evening, I had to go to Interlaken, an absolutely unremarkable place as compared to the beautiful and magical Grindelwald. A historic center surrounded by water, giant dandelion meadows, crowds of paragliders in the sky, and hundreds of cows ringing their bells endlessly. I was more interested in the small village of Lauterbrunnen and its vicinity, which became a prototype of the Valley of the Elves in The Lord of the Rings. Obviously, it inspired the author with its atmosphere and extraordinary views. In 1911, 19H. Tolkien made a mountain hike from Interlaken to Lauterbrunnen, and then over the mountain pass, and down to Grindelwald. The ending point of the route was the village of Zermatt, at the foot of the legendary Matterhorn, a well-known peak drawn on the Toblerone chocolate bar. A bit good journey all in all. And now, I'm in the village of Lauterbrunnen. It's often called the Valley of Waterfalls, which is not surprising at all. One of the main local points of attraction is the 300-meter Staubach Waterfall, the second highest in Switzerland. In April you can enjoy it from morning to noon, and after noon the sun hides behind the steep cliffs, and the falling stream and its sprinkles sparkling in the light lose their appeal in no time. The waterfall is the most interesting during the snowmelt or after heavy rains. I was lucky to see it water abundant. It is not the only one in the valley, and you feel like stepping forward and forward towards the snow-covered mountain peaks peeking out from behind the black rocks forming giant crevices. It is believed that Lauterbrunnen got to this landscape from a giant glacier that melted here more than 15,000 years ago. I can't help but walk along the endless, going to the horizon green meadows. So clean, so neat and attractive. I wanted to do this since I arrived to Switzerland. The time has come. What a thrill it is to lie in the sun on the green Swiss grass, overlooking a beautiful waterfall. On my way back, I came across a Swiss engineering marvel. An alpine cheese vending machine built into a house right in the middle of a field. Anyway, deciding it was lunchtime, I settled down to eat the freshest Swiss rolls from the only local supermarket.
Это вкусно.
And a chocolate Easter bunny that no one wanted to buy a week after the holiday.
Он вкусный.
Anyway, it was a far cry from true Swiss handmade chocolate. And thinking of the price for such curiosities in Zurich, I decided to get away from the tourist crowds. And, hoping to find something cheaper, I stopped in a tiny German-speaking town called Stein am Rhein. In some places, the river here is a borderline, and physically I could even walk to German territory. But I decided to visit another country on my next trip. Here, in the tiny old downtown of literally one street, a small chocolate paradise is located. Chocolates are expensive in paradise. It cost 30 euros. But still, my curiosity outweighed my greed.
5 евро за кофе с собой.
Or not.
30 франков. 30 франков. 30 франков.
It's time to try it out.
это было круто. Так выглядит 15 франков. Это прекрасно. Великолепно. Карьеры фудблогера мне явно не видать. Но оно и к лучшему.
Anyway, after bathing in the sun, viewing the beautiful Rhine, I set off to the ending point of my journey. Not far from Stein am Rhein is the Rhine Falls. The largest waterfall in Europe in terms of the volume of water flowing down. You can reach it by train, which passes over a bridge built short of the waterfall. There is also a pedestrian zone, offering a great view from the top. However, you should definitely go down, since the main landscape is viewed from the riverside. You can buy a ticket for a boat and get closer to the waterfall. From there you can feel the force which the current pushes these huge transport boats. Those who want to go to a small island right into the water sprays are dropped off here and taken back to the shore after 15 minutes. This place is fine to stay in for a whole day. Walk along the riverside, relax on wooden beds overlooking the waterfall, go up to the castle towering above it, and go to the special observation deck accessible only by tickets. Beautiful nature for a complete reboot and mental rest, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Switzerland is very diverse, incredibly diverse, but at the same time very coherent and harmonious. Here, on a rather small livable piece of land, different mentalities coexist. They speak different languages. Follow different laws. And the Italian part even has a siesta. Tell this to a German Swiss from Bern or Zurich, and he will be speechlessly amazed. City lifestyle is strikingly different from that in small villages scattered all over the country. And at the same time, all these people of different backgrounds and destinies are united by some incomprehensible thing which could only be sensed in Switzerland. Their attitude and love for their country, for its nature, their desire to make the place they live in the best that can be. That's all promotes a fabulous-like dwelling. That's it. We're done with the pathos. We can start the credits. Thanks for watching and bye-bye.